Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to get on here and talk about a film I saw over the weekend, which was Strange Darling, written and directed by J.T. Mollner, starring Willa, Fitzgerald, Kyle Gallner, Barbara Hershey, and Ed Begley Jr. And this film follows the end of a serial killer's long murder spree in Oregon, where this film takes place, and basically kind of chronicles this cat and mouse chase between these two people after a one-night stand. And it's split up into 6 narrative chapters that are all told out of linear order. And this film I heard a lot about, well, at least sort of vaguely. I saw the trailer for it. I thought it looked really interesting, but what really stood out to me in that trailer was Mike Flanagan, you know, one of the best horror filmmakers, television writers that we have, was saying it was like one of the best movies of the year. So that was a big selling point for me. But also another thing that very much intrigued me about this movie was the film cinematographer, actor Giovanni Ribisi. Like, that kind of came out of nowhere. And I've never seen a actor who's that high profile suddenly shift into cinematography. Now, we've seen, of course, actors go to directors many times very successfully, like Ben Affleck, for instance, but you never really see this very often. And I also saw that he's credited as a producer on this film. So he really had quite some investment in this. And what I will say about Ribisi's work right off the bat, I really do think he has a great future as a cinematographer. There's a lot of very fluid tracks throughout this entire movie that capture so much detail and convey so much about the mise-en-scène. It really is some very, very good work from Ribisi overall, and I'm really glad to see he hopped behind the camera and had this vision that he could, you know, bring J.T. Mollner's story to life. And this is a film where it started out and they're showing this kind of cat and mouse chase. And I was thinking to myself, okay, one, why is this told out of narrative sequence? And 2, it's not like we haven't seen anything like this before. So I was kind of questioning the intention behind the structure of this film for a good long while. And then there's a moment when it finally clicks and you're like, oh, that was so brilliant to make that decision and structure this movie in the way that it is. I think it is absolutely brilliant the way this script is put together, and I think subverts a lot of the tropes and a lot of what we're used to in the serial killer subgenre here. And I think that, of course, the performers are more than up for the task. I think Kyle Gallner is really good in this movie, and I'll leave it at that because I really don't want to get too much into the plot of this film or these characters, because I feel like kind of watching the film and seeing how things play out between them is really what the most interesting part about this movie is. But he is really, really good and gets so many amazing moments where he can be absolutely terrifying, and it really catches you off guard in a lot of moments. But, you know, you can't help but want to follow this character. And I really think it was a very, very impressive performance in that regard. And there's also this really hysterical scene with Barbara Hershey and Ed Begley Jr. of all people. And it is one of the most bizarre, off-kilter sequences of humor in any movie I've seen this year, and I was laughing my ass off. It was absolutely amazing how they were utilized, and they played the very offbeat type of characters so well that it was just, wow, I was really not expecting that part of the movie at all. And I think it really delivered with those tonal shifts, because this is a movie that shifts from comedy to horror quite seamlessly, and all within a matter of moments sometimes. And I think what Mollner crafts here is something really, really special. I don't think I've seen anything quite like this film. But back to the performances for a sec, because really the performance everybody is going to be talking about in this film is Willa Fitzgerald. Now, I have never seen her before. in anything. I heard she was in an adaptation of Little Woman, the one that was kind of buried because of the Gerwig one, which, I mean, let's be honest, I mean, it makes sense that it was. But I haven't really seen her at all, and this was my first introduction to her as an actress. And my goodness, I mean, this is one hell of a performance. This is one of those performances that's so tour de force, you kind of find it hard thinking that anyone is going to top this for the rest of the year. I mean, at least from what we've seen so far. She is absolutely electric in this movie and is called upon to do so much from an emotional and narrative standpoint. It is unbelievable, this performance. And it really sucks that she won't be nominated for the Oscar, because she really deserves this Oscar nomination 100%. But of course, this isn't the kind of movie that's going to get in that regard. But this is one of the most visceral, fascinating performances you will see for the rest of this year. And I really don't think there are going to be many to even come close to this one, in my opinion. So definitely, I would say just see the movie for her alone. But I think just the many unpredictable twists and turns this movie takes, the dialogue is just so spot on for a lot of this. And I think that it is just such an entertaining watch to see how these pieces come together, to see how this narrative unravels itself. It's just unbelievable. And I would have said that I love this movie, but there's something that happens near the very end of this film. Now, I will say, from a screenplay standpoint, it's very well executed. But from a logistical standpoint, it is one of the dumbest things I have ever seen in any movie this year. It kind of, in that way, follows Hitman Syndrome. If you've seen that movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. But something happens is just so completely unplausible, and really, I think in that situation, in real life, would not have gone that way at all. And it really held me back from loving what otherwise is a completely original movie, which we don't get as many out in theaters nowadays. So seeing something like this is truly a treat. But I do think it holds it back from being really one of the best movies of the year. I really thought that this was quite the thrill ride from start to finish, but especially once you figure out how the story is kind of unfolding. I think that that is really what's going to make this movie for a lot of people, and it certainly did that for me. I'm really excited to see what all these people do next, especially JT Mollner, Giovanni Ribisi as cinematographer, and Willa Fitzgerald in the roles going forward in her career. So I'm going to give Strange Darling an 8 out of 10. This is a very, very good film. Also, I have to mention the soundtrack to this movie done by Z Berg. I believe there's mainly original songs. This is one of the best soundtracks of the year as well. I mean, really, I was sitting there watching, I'm like, who is this writing these songs? Because they really, really stood out to me while I was watching the film and listening to them. But regardless, this is definitely one you don't want to miss. If there's any indie film you need to check out in this weekend, it's definitely this one. I know there's a lot more coming out, but please, if this is still in a theater near you, please go and see it. I guarantee that you won't be that disappointed. This is definitely quite the adventure if I've ever seen one. And yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it down in the comments below. Is this one of your favorite movies of the year? I know a lot of people absolutely love this film, and I completely understand that to an extent. So let me know if you did, and of course smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more movie reviews like this. I do apologize for the tardiness of a lot of these reviews, and I feel like the analytics are reflecting that a bit, and I really do want to deliver content, but please, be patient with my schedule. I got a life, alright? This is not a full-time job for me, and the fact I can get on here and talk about these movies and you guys listen, I really do appreciate that. So, of course, there's going to be a lot more coming very, very soon, especially because I am going to the Toronto International Film Festival next week. Finally, might not be able to get to see all the heavy hitters that I wanted to, but we're going to see a good deal of them, a lot of Oscar contenders, and a lot that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the year going forward. But until then, I'm going to ask you guys to have a good one, and we'll talk very soon.